everyone, and we are back with another Mortgage Minute. Today we have episode 5, and we are with Donna Robson from Intrust Bank. Thanks for being with us, Donna.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yes, glad to have you. Today we want to talk a little bit about how homeowners, or soon-to-be homeowners, buyers, will leverage different types of wealth that they might have in order to purchase a home or their next home. So, Donna, why don't you give us an example of one thing that happens that might be a little untraditional
Okay.
for a borrower to use?
Okay. Well, a lot of people right now have been accessing their 401k accounts, not to withdraw, but just to borrow. So they're borrowing against that money, and then once their home sells, then they're able to pay that money back. But that lets them access some money to have for a down payment on a new home while they're waiting to sell their current home.
Okay, so when they borrow against that, then that creates another debt against them for qualifying.
We do not count that as a debt because it is their own money.
Okay.
So it's very helpful with that.
Good to know.
Yes.
So those people wanting to buy that have a 401k can maybe use that to help them in that transition to the next house.
Yes.
Okay. So what about ways for someone to, I think we call it sometimes a bridge loan, where they go out and they shop, they find the house they want, but they do have one to sell. And so how does a bridge loan work, and does Intrust do bridge loans, and what would a borrower need to know in order to use something like that?
Okay, so a bridge loan is a loan against their current home. It's almost like an equity loan where they're taking the equity out of their current home before they sell it to be able to use that money as a down payment. So that loan, we do those at Intrust Bank. They will call them a bridge loan or a swing loan. You've heard both terms, they're the same thing. But it allows someone to access that equity so that they have money to put down on their new home, especially with the market being so crazy.
Yes.
And so that helps them do that. There are limits as far as loan to value, so they do need to have a good amount of equity in the home to do that. The payments on those loans are interest only payments, so that does help, but they do have to qualify with both that payment and the payment on the new home.
Okay. And is there any time period that they have?
It's typically 12 months.
12 months, okay. Well, we shouldn't have a problem in the market today,
Right.
getting their home sold in 12 months, the way things are moving. Okay, that's great. Sounds like a good viable option for a lot of people.
It's a really good option, and they take not quite as long as a home loan, so it's easy to get those in process and have those closed in plenty of time before they close on the new home.
Okay, fantastic. So what about someone who might have other wealth accounts like stocks and various things like that? Are there things they can do to use that money and leverage it when they want to buy a home?
It's depending on who they have their investments with. They sometimes are able to do a loan against their accounts.
Okay.
So it really depends from company to company who has their wealth accounts, but that is an option sometimes that somebody can borrow against those, again, to use for a down payment.
Okay. So with the interest rates having risen a little bit here in the last 60 days or so, are you seeing some of your borrowers using some of that 401k money or other savings accounts in order to pay points to get a lower interest rate, or do you see them doing larger down payments? How do you weigh the difference?
I think people are asking more about points than there used to be the last couple of years, especially. So points has been in the conversations a lot lately, and people are usually willing to pay a little bit to get a lower rate for the long term. Also, I'm seeing even some seller contributions that we haven't been seeing. So
Okay.
that would be another option to get those points paid. But I don't see a lot of people putting a lot more money down because rates are still good in general. It's not as good as they were, but they're not as bad as they could be. So it's still a really good market and a really good time to buy.
Right, so you did say that a seller is allowed to pay discount points on behalf of a buyer
Yes.
to help get that rate lowered.
That's correct.
Very good to know for negotiating.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
all right. Well, as you guys have all just heard, there's a lot of information here on how a borrower can leverage different sources of monies to help them accomplish their homeowner goals, and a lot more than Donna can share with you here in this few minutes. So feel free to reach out to her. Her information's below, and I'm sure she'd be happy to walk you through it and answer your questions.
I'd be happy to.
All right, Donna, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Until next week, have a good one.